Is that working? I think it's working. Oh my goodness. I see the audio mixer is saying that there's actually sound. I'm gonna blame this little kitten right here. She's looking right at you. She probably unhooked some wires. Yes, look at her little sleepy face. She's so sweet. Such a good kitty. Um, yeah, I think sometimes, okay, so my laptop is kind of dying. Uh, like I'm working on building a new computer to replace my laptop because one of the things that's going is it is a very guilty look. Yes, is my USB ports have all been dying for a while. They were already having problems, and then my cat's constantly like stepping on it, like on the actual like USB whatever is sticking into it. I can't get them to stop doing it. I've tried every trick in the book. They just want to sit on my laptop. I shoo them out of the room, and then they scratch at the door and cry because they don't like to be out of sight of me as much as possible. So anyway, thank you, Reverend Mort, for pointing out that there was no sound because I didn't realize that. So you really helped me. Anyway, welcome to today's stream. Um, yeah. Yeah, USB, wireless or Bluetooth. I'm looking at other microphones because right now I just have this one that's like built into my camera, which I think is actually surprisingly quite good. It just, I got a nice Logitech and it had a microphone built in. I am saving up to hopefully get like one of those fancy ones, like the Blue Yeti or Ars Technica or something. Because Ash and I are working on a project of doing some ASMR, like consent affirmations and like ASMR therapeutic statements and stuff like that. And so we want to get nicer microphones. Um, Hi, Krillin. Um, so, yes, today we've got a lot of fun things to do. Earlier, I was actually saying that I was really tired today, but in a good way. Uh, I have been recently working out. I haven't done like anything physical the entire pandemic. And oh, you're going to go grocery shopping. Nice, Krellin. And yes, I was what was I talking about? Yeah, I didn't do anything during the pandemic. I didn't really gain that much weight or anything. So, I was like kind of just doing my thing, just kind of happy. I was like, yeah, my body seems the same. And then my friends invited me to do these like 3 times a week morning workouts. We get together at like 9:30, which is fine because I work from home, so I can really kind of set my own schedule. Hi, did you run? And I did the first one, and I was like, this was hard, but it was nice. And then the next day, I literally couldn't move. Uh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know there were totally niche mics for ASMR, but not surprising. I thought I was just gonna like get really close to the mic and like whisper into it. Anyway, so I did this one workout. It wasn't even that hard. It was just like a body weight thing for like an hour, and like it was just sort of warm up, a little bit of strength training, a little bit of cardio, a little bit of stretching, pretty easy stuff. And like I said, the next day I like couldn't move. Like I actually didn't get out of bed really. I like crawled over my computer to do some work and then I like had a hard time staying sitting up, so I grabbed my laptop and then I like crawled back to my bed and I was like, I'm gonna work here. Um, so that really I like the joke, Reverend Mort. So yeah, it really made me realize I had been kidding myself that I could just like not do any physical activity for 2 years and nothing would change. Um, and anyway, so now I've been doing it more, and I did an extra workout today. I've been trying to pace myself. I have a tendency to like, I don't know how to do things kind of like halfway. I either I'm like not doing it or I'm gonna do it 10,000%. and that's not always a good idea. So I've been working on that. So I did one workout, and then I was like, what if we worked out all day, every day? And I'm like, no, brain, that's not a good idea. That's also not healthy or sustainable. So I've been pacing myself. So it's just been 3 days a week. It's nice to do it on Zoom with friends because I'm very socially motivated. I will not work out really by myself. I will, but it'll be very half-assed for sure. So when I have people there who like we're watching each other and we're talking through it and we're like encouraging each other, it's much better. So then, and you're absolutely right, Krellin, it is an ADHD thing to just be like 0% or 10,000%. There's no in between. So today I did a different workout. I just put some like YouTube videos together because I'm really trying to work on my posture. I've been getting more of the like rounded shoulders, and that is just basic physiology is like these muscles get tighter and shortened, and then these muscles back here get really like weak and elongated, and then you can like mentally remind yourself to put your shoulders back, but unless you correct the strength and sort of lengthening imbalance, it will always just go right back. And the same is true for pelvic tilt. It's a mismatch between the strength and shortening and elongation of the front versus the back side of your body. So I've been really working on both of these. I've got a little, because I have Ehlers-Danlos, I have 10 degrees of crookedness in my spine, which is the threshold to be considered to have scoliosis, that has developed in the last few years. So I'm also just trying to like do more to care for my spine. There's nothing you can really do about scoliosis. Like you have it, you have it. There's not a whole lot that can be done other than wearing braces, but I can manage it by taking good care of my spine throughout the process. So yeah, I am very good tired today. My arms feel a little bit like Jello. I can feel the benefit of the workout already, and I'm excited for how sore I'll be tomorrow. Anyway, I'm really excited to hang out with all of you. This is like often the highlight of my week, to just come and chill and talk about nerdy things. I got a couple of memes. I want to read the introduction to Surviving the Future to y'all because it relates to everything we've been talking about, both in terms of like Stardew Valley, very literally in terms of the what a different kind of community could look like, but then also a lot of these sort of economic, social, city planning, environmental issues. You're right, Reverend Mort. It does sound like the prelude to a good date. um, yes, brings back memories. Anyway, there's a couple memes I have at the beginning. I don't know who these people here are at the bottom. I have no idea if they're cool or not, but I liked the whole, I don't want 8K TVs and self-driving cars. I want a 4-day work week and rent control. I think it's okay if you want both. But in terms of like ideal futurism for me, it's not about having fancier TVs and self-driving cars. I want like everybody to have a good life, everybody to have a good baseline, cities to be really livable and walkable, and not just cities, but places outside of cities and, you know, like streetcar suburbs. And so I think it's okay to want both. Like I picked this because I think it's good to always remind people it doesn't have to be an either or exactly, though I do think overall we need to shift away from car dependence and car focus if we really want to then focus on the infrastructure we need for other things. And also, like as productivity has gone up, we should have had to work less hours. We don't need to grow as fast as we are trying to. We don't need to expand this much. We don't need to produce. We could have just worked less. I don't know. It would have been nice. Anyway, small aside. Okay, Krillin, thank you. Jack Califano is a strategist for the American Postal Workers Union. Krillin, I really appreciate you and how you always have extra information to add that is like genuinely really useful stuff and things where it's like filling in things that I didn't know. And I really like it when you're here and you can share these things. So thank you. I'm going to zoom in for this one. This is just a tweet from the LU or L Urbanist. Slovakian sees a video about American suburbs and posts questions to Reddit. It was probably a Not Just Bikes or a Strong Towns video. The level of bafflement is hilarious and appropriate. So the questions are, what do you actually do? Are you always stuck inside? What did you do when you were a child and couldn't drive? Excellent questions. Why do you have these sorts of strange regulations? Are your officials so incompetent? Is this due to lobbying from car or oil companies? I don't get it. I don't necessarily know what regulations they're talking about, but I have suspicions. Why is there no public transport? It seems like the only thing is the yellow school bus. I don't know. He says there can be only one family houses. Why? Why can't you have, I don't know, a commie block in the middle of such a suburb or row houses or whatever? And that's the thing is like having the ability to have a street or a area or a neighborhood that is not all just single family houses will actually make living in that place better. And, I think that people can have this idea of like, well, the quote unquote character of the neighborhood. And I don't think that that's always just a dog whistle for like racism. And a lot of the time it is. Uh, you're right, Carolyn. Americans don't even know what a commie block is. I'm sure they've seen images of it in terms of like the Soviet dystopia hellscape. Look at all the buildings are ugly, and it's like, yeah, it's true. A lot of them are ugly, but I'd rather live in an ugly building that kept me warm and dry and had places to see people and was well connected than live in a place that looked nice but was half made out of cardboard and gonna fall apart and uh, didn't get me anywhere and had huge costs. Anyway, and there's reasons why those commie blocks looked the way they would do. There were sort of like ideological and cultural reasons. So it's complicated. But, there's a new proposal. I was just listening to, I think it was DW News and NPR were talking about it for new development legislation that would basically make it so that I think this is in England. I'm pretty sure this is in England because there's this like idea in England where they need to increase housing because there's a huge housing shortage across the country. And this is putting a big strain, especially as like more people are moving to cities and there's this like green belt. If you're from England and I'm getting this completely wrong, I'm sorry. I'm trying to this green belt or greenway or something that's like this really nice countryside area, and people are really worried about that getting super developed. So there's a need to build more housing and a lot of worry about what that's going to look like. So there's this new proposal to make it so that it's street by street voting. So like you have a hyper local planning basically. So if a developer wants to come in, the street like us basically everybody on the street or some number, I think it's almost everybody, has to agree to what the development is and what it's going to look like so that the sort of character or charm or like image of the neighborhood can be preserved. This is what I mean when I say it's like the character of the neighborhood. Often when people are talking about, they're like, we want it white and culturally Christian and upper middle class or whatever. But it doesn't have to always be. Like I mentioned in Massachusetts, there's the town Hingham. It has zoning laws that says you can't have neon signs. So even things like McDonald's and CVS and these other chains that usually have these big, very iconic, easy to recognize neon signs had to make old-timey wooden ones. And it's pretty cute. You go there and you're like, oh, cute. And otherwise you don't necessarily want to be in Hingham, but when you're passing through to go to the beach, it's cute. And Reverend Mort, you said, yeah, I was about to say that suggestion sounds very likely to cause that. Yeah. And Krellin, you said the U.S. doesn't have a housing shortage. The U.S. homelessness issue is distribution. The housing exists, but are priced outside of the reach of those that need them. Yeah, and also there's a huge issue with like a lot of housing is in places that are so not connected that it is price prohibitive to even live there. Like, so even if you could afford to say rent this house or rent this apartment in this place, it's going to take you 3 hours to get to work because you don't have the money for a car and the public transit that exists is really bad. Whereas like in Vienna this past weekend, my partner and I went to do a little bit of shopping and run some errands, and we had to go like all over the city. And even if like the train line doesn't take us directly there, there's these buses that snake through the whole city into the suburbs and everything too, and they sort of bridge between all of the different streetcar or subway lines. And on a Saturday, the buses were coming every 3 minutes, and they were used, right? Like you can have induced demand with things like good public transit too, and it was great. We chose to do a lot of um, true Krellin, tear down suburbs and build commie blocks. It's yeah. Reverend Moore, though UK probably means not white so much as not poor. Yeah, probably. I think people are also worried about that. I think there's a lot of just phobia of people poorer than you. They'll like, if you look at like social class analysis, so not like wealth analysis, but social class analysis, a lot of the time the behavior of the lower classes and the upper classes is almost identical. Or the lower classes are more likely to be things like very considerate and very like aware of the impact that they're having, more likely to do things like say clean up their table at a restaurant rather than leave a huge mess. I don't want to get too much into that analysis because I think these are things that are also really hard to measure. Paladin Hulk, hello, and you say, if I stand next to these poor people, maybe society will decide I should be poor. Yeah, I mean, I think people are worried about that. When I was a kid, we lived in this town called Plymouth, like the famous Plymouth where the Pilgrims sort of landed. And it's not a wealthy town, especially not when we lived there, but it is a certain kind of old Massachusetts resident snobby, in the sense of like the people who tend to live in Plymouth have families who were like some of the earliest settlers, and then also like Wampanoag and Massasoit descendants and tribal members, and a lot of people in the area are mixed. They have it both indigenous and settler ancestry. And anyway, that's where we lived. And then we moved to an incredibly poor town, like a really, really poor town. And I definitely know that there was some worry of like what kinds of habits were going to rub off on me. And there were things that were true to that. Like people were a lot more sexually active, a lot younger in my second town than in my first town. People were a lot more likely to, be exposed to drugs and alcohol and have access to them younger. But people were no nicer or smarter or kinder or like thoughtful in one place or the other. There was just the issues that come with poverty. Anyway, Reverend Mort, you said part of it is also selfish but real financial concern. Low income housing lowers adjacent property value for fucked up reasons. It's true. And the thing is, though, is like, if we made low income housing not ugly, if we made low income housing like nice and built to last and like desirable, it wouldn't have to do that. Or you can have a place like Vienna where a huge percentage of the buildings in the city, you go into any neighborhood and you can, even in this first district, the very city center, which is like the super luxe place to live, you basically have to be rich to afford to live there. There's a bunch of public housing and it looks nice. It's got a very particular sort of just post World War II style that's a little bit commie, a little bit not. And they've got this very cool architecture, these nice gardens in the center of them. And you get in there through entering into this sort of like allotment weight system based off of your income level. And yeah, even in the richest part, there's a ton of this kind of housing. And there's like all these laws in Vienna that a certain amount of all new building has to be low income and affordable and rent controlled and that kind of stuff. Yeah, also, Krellin, excellent point. Maybe we shouldn't have a society where middle class wealth depends on housing value. And that's absolutely true. 1,000% true. Okay, so a couple other questions that this person asked is like, why are there no businesses inside of these? I mean, he says it's illegal. Just why? If I live in such a place, I just buy a house next to mine and turn it into a tavern or a convenience store or whatever. Is that simply not possible or illegal? And see, I think that a lot of people who've lived in very rural or suburban areas most of their life, or even in cities that are just not very walkable, don't understand how much more freedom and like less stress you have when you can just walk out of your house. And even in the suburbs, even when I lived in France and I lived in this really tiny town that was like kind of touristy because it was like old and the cities, the old historic city center was really nice, but like I lived in the city center and my rent was $300 a month for like a 60 square meter apartment with a nice terrace that overlooked the cathedral. Like it was really inexpensive to live there. And it was like, but there was anything I needed, anything I could possibly need was like 10, 15 minutes walk max. And then I could walk to the university. That took me about a half hour because it was kind of far outside the city center. I could walk to my job, which took me about 18 minutes. Um, it was great. And the amount of more free time and less struggle that gave me. I also had less food waste because instead of having to go to the grocery store that was like far outside town and pick up big things of bulk groceries and then hope that that lasted me, like every day I would just stop at the market on my way home because I'd be like, okay, I have the things that last, like herbs and spices and things that butter, milk, eggs, those sorts of staples. But then whenever I'm like, okay, today I want to make something with artichokes or I want to make something with broccoli or whatever, I would just go on my way home to the grocery store, pick some things up, go home and cook it. Maybe I would make more and have it for a few days, but I had almost no food waste there as well. And I ate the best I've ever eaten in my life. I mean, part of it was because like the foods that I really like, especially in they were often like government subsidized and they were France has this cool practice of preserving traditional farming or agriculture or food creation practices. So they have like these controls and these regions that are protected. So like you can get butter that's made the same way butter has been made for hundreds of years using the same kinds of sheep that are in like these open pastures. It's like not just organic, it's also like old school and it's like cold churned and but it's also subsidized. So it's not super expensive. It's not just like a luxury thing. It's like France wants to preserve this cultural history that's also ephemeral in the sense of like it's part of this cultural practice of how these things are made. And this is part of things like a sense of place. I digress. And then the last part here is these places have front and backyards, but they're mostly empty. Some backyards have a pool, maybe, but it's mostly just green grass. Why don't they grow plants? Why don't you grow plants in your yards, like potatoes, cucumbers, tomatoes, or whatever? Why do they own this land if they never use it? And I know I've mentioned beforehand that like turf grass is like the largest single monoculture crop that we grow in the world, and we just use up so much actually good soil for something that kind of sucks and isn't very nice and doesn't promote biodiversity. It actually like kills things and it's really hard to maintain it. And you know, you can grow like for example, certain types of lettuce, like mesclun lettuce, for example. You have one set and you can pull leaves off of it and you can get fresh lettuce from like March or May all the way to like September, depending on the hardiness region where you live and how much sun and stuff you get. But it'll just, you know, as long as you don't pull the roots out, it'll keep growing back. So you can have fresh salad like every couple of days all the time. And it's just local, you know, farm to table. It's right there. It costs you just the cost of the couple seeds that you had to buy and like maybe a little bit of fertilizer or like just the time, but you kind of just do it once. You have a nice plot and then you've got tons of lettuce and then it's good. But the problem also is that if all of your neighbors are using these like really, really harsh pesticides and like root killers and all these other things to sort of create this beautiful, perfect turf grass lawn, probably you're not going to want to eat the lettuce because it might be dangerous. And this is also, I think, I don't know what it is now because I know bush the second Bush president really weakened the laws, and I haven't looked it up again. But in the US before Bush, it was if you wanted to have a farm that was considered organic, it could not be within 50 miles of a non-organic farm because that's how far like pesticide runoff is like guaranteed to go and have these sort of influences. And yeah, I'm glad you hate turf grass. I am really against them. I had a client that I was meeting with yesterday, and we were talking about just some principles of ecology and how they can apply to market economics. He's like a finance dude, and I may or may not be slowly trying to radicalize him a little bit. Uh, just gonna. I've been working with this guy for like 5 years. I really love interacting with him, and uh, he ends up being a source of a lot of surprise and vexation and interest because you work for a huge multinational finance corporation. You get a lot of insight into what's going on in those places. And anyway, I was talking to him just about dandelions and how like important they are as like an intermediary plant to help soil health so that other plants can then come and grow later. Don't go slow, radicalize. Yeah. I mean, when I first met him, he described himself as an anarchist, and I was like, I'm interested. Go on. And then he's like, I don't actually know what that means. And I was like, okay. um, yeah, well, the thing is, it's really funny. Is like I had all these points that I was telling him years ago that he always thought were like kind of ridiculous. And then everything I have ever said to him and all of the articles I've linked to him and all of the resources I've given, it ends up being true. And he recently, like before Russia invaded Ukraine, I was talking about like the really rich topsoil that's like the largest concentration of it is in Ukraine and how like it means that like Ukraine is sort of like the breadbasket of a lot of the world and that like soil issues, and also I was talking about like energy and how economies can't function without cheap energy sources, and he was kind of like, yeah, I guess. And then everything happened with the invasion, and he said that he was in these like top high level meetings with dudes whose job it is to be like political analysts in terms of finance who get paid like I don't know, $750,000 a year minimum. And he's like, they were just coming to the understandings of the things you were telling me 2 years ago. And I was like, I know, I'm not surprised. And he was like, yeah. And then I like looked cool in the meeting because I knew more things and knew what they were talking about and like could really follow it. And I was like, nice. Yes. Okay. So the thing is, I think that this, whether or not this is a contrived post here, and it zoomed back out, doesn't really matter because I think that these questions really do show that the wealthiest nation on the planet, the like whatever you want to call America, there's so many things that we don't know are so much better elsewhere. And I do want to stress I'm not saying like Europe is any kind of paradise. There are plenty of problems here. There are plenty of issues in East Asia. There, like every place has its issues. I'm just saying like we don't have to make the world the way we've made it. Okay, next one. I like this meme. It made me laugh. It's an image of Luke on his home planet. The two suns are rising, but they look like the suns or the I don't remember if these are suns. Something from Rick and Morty. And one's capitalism, one's nationalism, and then it zooms in on Luke's face and it just says, I fucking hate it here. And that's all. I'm gonna give you all the link if you want this meme. So you can have it too. And then this one here is 10 little monkeys. The Twitter post jumping on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Mama asked the mom group, and the mom group said, have you tried essential oils? I hear hyperactivity is a vaccine injury. I'm calling Child Protective Services. And it's just, I don't even have kids yet, but I feel this in my soul. And it's tough because this person was asking for advice, right? So this isn't entirely unsolicited advice, but it's also just like, wow, I regret. Okay, the next one. This is from our Fuck Cars, you can see, and this person says that they saw this today, and it's stickers on the back of someone's rear windshield that one is an image of a bike and the other is the image of a wheelchair, and then it has like sort of tick marks. And the implication here is that they've hit 8 bicyclists and 4 people in wheelchairs with their car. And that's gross and scary. That's all. It's just, and then you've got this top comment here that's just they think they own the road, meaning that's what a lot of car people will say. Like they get annoyed having to share the road with people who are not also in cars. Paladin Hulky said, I remember first bumping into someone who was into essential oils. They thought they were joking. Then it got very not funny at all. Yeah, I had someone trying to tell me I could dissolve my kidney stones with orange extract and like vitamin C essential oil. And I was like, actually, effervescent and concentrations of vitamin C in either form and high concentrations will cause kidney stones. I guess because you think citrus is kind of acidic and you imagine that that is going to be dissolving. I'm not sure where this logic comes from, but no. Like, if I could not have chronic kidney stones, that would be great. But the solution is I drink 3 liters of filtered water a day and try to make my body more acidic. Because part of the problem is my body's basic. I get lots of jokes about being a basic bitch from my doctors. Anyway, Krellin, you said TBF, American roads are designed for cars and only for cars. Whether it should be that way or not that's the way it is. Yes, for sure. Paladin Hulk, oh, there's logic. It's more of a faith thing. BP Phantom, but the oils. Yeah, they want it to work. All right. Automod try to block your use of a swear. I think that's just a Twitch thing, but I allowed it, Reverend Mort. The car joke is gross, but as someone who grew up with a wheelchair using parent with a dark sense of humor, they're foolish. Cost thousands of dollars to fix wheelchairs. Cars cost thousands of dollars to fix. Wheelchairs are free if you need them. And that cost benefit analysis is why my mom gave no fucks about rolling into traffic. Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate dark senses of humor, and I think that they can be incredibly liberatory, especially for people who are not in the sort of more powerful or privileged or whatever we want to talk about. And I think that sometimes we need to add a little levity to difficult things. Not everybody likes dark jokes, but I definitely appreciate them. It's why I liked the TV show Northman. That was like making fun of the Vikings TV show, and it was like dark comedy. It was very funny. I watched the whole thing twice because I really like it. Okay, next one was also, this is from Not Just Bikes, and it says, local news and mayor of my hometown in Italy feels proud for this new bike lane. This is even worst of the Belgian ones I saw in the Wallen region. So it's this bike lane that is like maybe a foot wide, maybe. And also then like on the shoulder, if you've ever tried to ride on a shoulder, you know how bad that can be. There can be debris there, there can be things blocking it, sand and stuff like that. Like even in a car, driving on the shoulder can be really dangerous because you get too much sand and suddenly that's going to pull your car right off the road. And this is not a bike lane. You know, it's some people have strong feelings about like having segregated or protected bike lanes as being bad because it means that like the road isn't for bikes. Personally, I don't want to die and I don't trust most drivers, so I would prefer a protection. Hi, Lo-Fi Prince. And then Reverend Mort, you said dark humor is sometimes very necessary, but it's definitely a thing where you need to read the room correctly. Yeah, for sure. And it gets used by a lot of shitty people to justify shitty behavior. Absolutely. Absolutely. Krellin, you said, hey, that's an American bike lane. Absolutely true. And Lo-Fi Prince, you added, yeah, potholes and dead animals. Yeah, and Krellin, you're right. Municipalities need to learn that you can't make a bike-friendly road with just paint. Um, yeah, yeah. You know, it's really difficult because I think for a lot of people, this is totally armchair analysis, right? Like, do not think that this is serious. This is just me goofing off. But I think for a lot of people, we've really created this idea of like cars and freedom and power and autonomy. And then we've built worlds where a lot of people don't have access to a lot of freedom, power, and autonomy. We have things all day, every day that take away our autonomy. And so I think for many people, being in their car and driving in their car is one of the few times they really feel autonomy, like the right to decide what happens with their mind, their body, their spirit, their information. Hi, Ice Bunny. And so I think that a lot of people, again, this is armchair analysis. I have no proof for this. This is just my thoughts. So I think for a lot of people, they feel their greatest sense of actual power over their own lives in a car for numerous reasons, but a lot of them are structural. And then when anything is disrupting that, when anything is reminding them that their power has to be shared or that autonomy is not limitless, that like, we have the social contract where your and my autonomy overlaps, we have to negotiate, we have to make space for each other, we have to be considerate, we need consent. That can be really difficult because we also tend to have really unhealthy ideas about power and autonomy. And we tend to think like the usage of my power is always justified because I have it. And, so I think for a lot of drivers, bicyclists and pedestrians or anybody they're sharing the road with creates this often immediate sense of sort of frustration or rage or difficulty because we need cars as our current way to feel like we have any power and autonomy in our lives. Armchair analysis. There are lots of exceptions and qualifications to everything I just said, and I don't know if it's true. Okay. Ice Bunny, you said, do we talk about countryside and the dependence on cars? Mostly right now, we're just talking about different memes and posts from Reddit that I liked. Krellin, you said, my city tried to turn the road outside my old apartment into a bike-friendly path with just some paint adjustments, and I don't think it worked very well. I haven't lived there in 2 years. Yeah, I mean, it probably didn't, especially because there will always be people who want to cycle and will cycle. There'll be people like who's like, my identity is a cyclist. I live the cyclist lifestyle. And then there'll be people who are like, it would be nice to not have to pay tons of money for gas and to like build physical activity into my daily life. And it would allow me to not have to sit in traffic. So I would love this, but may or may not do it because of safety or feasibility. And then there are the people who will never even consider cycling because it's not safe. And so I think just putting some paint down is unlikely to really increase in a big way the number of cyclists. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you, Lo-Fi Prince. I also just don't feel comfortable with road biking in the States. Ice Bunny, you said Copenhagen is the most doable way of making the urban bike friendly, and Amsterdam is even better. Yeah, when I visited Copenhagen, I was really impressed. But I knew people there who like the city is so bike unfriendly, and I was like, I'm sure it could be better, but this is amazing. And Lo-Fi Princess said, I lucked out when I moved, and my grocery store is like a third of a mile, so I've been doing a lot more walking. Nice, nice. So now I want to pivot because I want to read, like I said, the introduction to Surviving the Future. It's kind of an interesting introduction. I don't really know how to explain it, but I want to just take a minute to talk about the idea of the net energy cliff really quickly. We talked about it many, many weeks ago. And if you Google the net energy cliff, I actually just recommend this first article. I will link it in the chat. It's from resilience.org, which is actually a very sort of reputable, mostly, researchers. One of my favorite researchers who wrote Secular Cycles, Peter Turchin, often writes for Resilience and is talking about what the net energy cliff actually is. And the net energy cliff is this idea that at some point in time, we may hit a point where the energy return on investment that we get, so how many joules of energy we get in return for each joule spent on getting energy, will go over a cliff and will no longer be able to maintain society the way we have because we will not have the energy that is necessary. It's not necessarily a doomsday kind of thing. It's just, and lots of things could happen to change this, but it is something we need to think about. There are plenty of, like sensational articles like this one, net energy cliff will lead to collapse of civilization. I mean, maybe. Lots of civilizations have risen and fallen over history. I think it's fine. There's also lots of ResearchGate articles. I recommend going with the actual like peer-reviewed stuff if you want to look at more hard data. The book I recommend the most is Energy and the Wealth of Nations. It's a book that also changed my life, for as dry and weird as it is, because I hated economics beforehand, and then I was like, biophysical economics, what's that? And then now I love economics because I'm like, oh, it actually makes sense and is tied to reality depending on the field. But here's some examples. This is energy return on energy invested and percentage. And we have the sort of early oil and gas fields, the very near surface oil. Newer stuff, you can see it's going down, wind, coal, some biofuel, solar, all kind of combining. But then if we run out of things, we have this point here. We have a certain return on investment that we need just to maintain the world as it is, not grow, not build anything new, not doing it, just to literally maintain the system as it is. And some of these other things like oil, shale, like shale energy fracking, we've talked about this before, is really not very good. It's actually a net energy loss a lot of the time. But if we go over this cliff, it will take us more energy to get energy. So it will take us more than 1 joule of energy to get a joule of energy in return. This is not this is not my favorite visualization of the data. It's just the most common one. And there are lots of other ones here that this is also from biophysics website, sort of talking about where it goes over, and we need, energy return on energy investment, about 5 to 7 minimum requirement for society to function as it is, right? Like, doesn't mean the end of the world. The world has ended a lot of times. That's all I'm going to try to say. There's been a lot of apocalypses and Armageddons, and like, I recently learned about the etymology of the word Armageddon. It was actually Har and Mageddon, which was like the name of the city and its destruction. It's kind of where we got the word Armageddon. But then there's also lots of cities from history that led to a lot of the words we have today, like urban comes from the city which was like one of the first cities. Small note. Okay, so then here, there's a lot of discussion about this. I'll put this in the chat as well, about the sort of, is there such thing as a net, oh, that's the same. No, it's a different article. Okay, another group talking about this. And this is sort of with more data and more information on it. It goes really nicely into what does this actually mean? What is the actual sort of physics of this? And we have to look at energy also in terms of things like physical labor, and we need food to do that. So we have to, and if we don't have enough food to power our bodies, then we're also not going to be able to do these things. So we have to think about the energy required for the physical labor, the energy required for food. It's not just like autonomous machines that do all of this. There's this one also from ResearchGate. I'll put this link in the chat. And it kind of looks at some other forms of energy and breaks it down into these sort of groups. We are no longer in these historic oil and gas fields because near surface energy or oil has basically entirely been used up. So we're getting more and more into sort of this area over here because we're having to drill deeper and deeper and deeper. And wind energy and nuclear energy can help, but remember, it's sort of like this point right here, which is the sort of cliff to go over. It depends on where the costs come in and how much we can do all of this, and battery storage and all of this. And then the one I actually like the most this visualization here, I think shows a little bit better of the sort of like, what is the return on investment? So oil around the 1930s, the near surface stuff was really great. It was about 100 to 1. Coal before 2005 was here, but now it's going down because we're having issues with getting more coal. Hydroelectric, you know, the max for hydro is about 40. Um, the max for coal is about 80. It depends on coal mine luck, but also coal has all these other issues. Um, Imported oil, domestic oil, this is based off the United States. Firewood could actually be one of the better things if we're making, because it's a renewable resource and we can do carbon offset through planting more trees. It's not perfect, but it could be good. But then you can see here, like tar sands, a lot of this other stuff, it's not very helpful. And the point here is, it's going to bring me to the article I want to talk about, or not the article, this thing. I'm going to make my video a little smaller so I'm not blocking it. So I just want to read you all the introduction of this before we game. It's not a very super long introduction. So starting here, and I know I've seen some things in chat, so give me a second. I will go and read what y'all are talking about. Yeah, Krellin, you said, this place is bike unfriendly. My friend, have you seen the US? And the answer is usually no, they have not. Reverend Mort, you said, as a Swede, I'm legally obligated to say that everything related to Denmark is very relative. And let's see here. Lots of good comments. Yeah, Paladin Hulk barely have the energy to get out of bed, so I get this. BP Phantom, lots of civilizations have risen and fallen before, but not this one. We're special. Yeah, I mean, whenever people are like feeling like nothing's ever going to change and things are going to go on forever, I'm just like, dinosaurs don't exist anymore. Like these big, gigantic creatures that could just completely crush us just don't exist. I mean, in birds kind of, but we're not better than a stegosaurus, okay? Yeah, and you're right, Lo-Fi Friends. We have the technology to actually get out of this problem, but we have unhelpful people at the helm. Ice Bunny, as if Sweden, LO, don't worry about this Scandi snark. Most of Sweden visits Denmark to get drunk. And then Lo-Fi Prince, you said etymology is one of your favorite things. You can actually run E equals MC squared to solve how much food you need for a person to do a thing. I didn't know that. Ice Bunny, I heard once that they are researching to turn plastic back into oil. That would be very nice. There's definitely different qualities of oil. Like not all oil can be used to produce fuel. A lot of oil that is used to produce plastic, I don't think could be used to produce fuel, or at least not very high quality gasoline and such, but I could be wrong about this. This is just my current understanding. Reverend Mort, yes, joke reference to Scandinavian countries, complicated, friendly rivalry, love-hate relationship. And Krellin, that graph tells me we have designed a bad society. A functional society would operate on a 40 to 1 return on investment, since that seems to be what we can expect most things to be. Building your society on the best case instead of the median case is just bad design. I mean, I totally agree with you. This is one of the huge points I'm always wanting to make, is that like we need to degrow. We need to reduce how much energy we're using. And I don't mean like, I'm not talking about like individual all the time. I mean, people love to talk about, oh, it's climate change has nothing to do with individuals. It's like these big companies, they're the biggest producers of it. But these big companies are mostly fulfilling consumer demand so it is related. We do have to talk about like ways in which our lifestyles are going to have to change. It's not that I need to make an active decision to like turn my lights off more or like take shorter showers or whatever. It's more we need to create structures so that we don't just automatically use as much energy and resources when we go about our daily lives. And certain aspects of our daily lives are going to have to change. We'll get into that a little bit in this book, because this book is literally about like aftermarket economics and peak oil and all this other stuff. And oh, I just noticed, Rivermore, you said you have to leave. I hope you have a good day. Yeah, Krellin, I've already degrowed. Everyone else needs to catch up with me before people start pointing fingers. There will come a time, probably within the next decade or so, where there's going to be a lot of finger pointing. And we already have some of that with the ways in which we wag our fingers at like China and India related to coal. And it's like, it's very much a yes and, where it's like, yes, it's true. We should not be just like dramatically scaling up how much coal we're using for the sake of just people's economies catching up, because we all should be degrowing. But also like, yeah, I mean, we exploited these countries of their natural resources and made it so that they weren't growing as much for so. There's a lot going on there. A lot, and there's already finger wagging at people. Anyway, let's just read the beginning of this before we start gaming. So the introduction here is kind of a story that's gonna not appeal to everybody, but is, I think, still very illustrative, because it's kind of talking about this idea of lean logic, which is what the author David Fleming got really famous for, was his book Lean Logic. And you can also see here like references to Ursula K. Le Guin and other things. This is a pretty good book. Okay, the introduction. I never volunteer for anything, it only gets me in trouble. So when we were asked to volunteer for parts in a game to illustrate the virtues of what is known as lean thinking, I stood at the back and stared at the floor. This was especially necessary because the other people on the course were senior management in industries which I had read about from time to time, but who lived on a different planet from the one I mooch about in. Aerospace, automotive, logistics, reinsurance. One of them made tanks. I concentrated on not catching anyone's eye. What I didn't realize was that the last person to volunteer, or anyone foolhardy enough not to volunteer at all, was punished by being nominated for the job that nobody wanted. Okay, you're the CEO. What? Yes, you. What? Chief Executive Officer. What? The boss. No, really, I'm not that ambitious. You're the boss. Now let's get a move on. So they're playing this game, if that's not clear. When they put a lot of thought, they put a lot of thought and effort into designing the games they play in business schools. And here is what they had us doing. They wanted us to assemble little plastic colored bricks together in a very particular way. If you got it roughly right, that wouldn't do. If you got it almost exactly right, that meant you had built an airplane that would stall on takeoff. It had to be exact, and agreed to be exact by the incorruptible referee, the lady who was making this distressing event happen. Most of the 24 people on the course had sensibly volunteered to be production workers. The remaining 1/3 were management. The production workers were divided into 4 groups, sat down at 4 tables, and required to put bricks together in sub-assemblies, each one an exact replica of the model which had been placed in front of them on their table. Each sub-assembly had to be taken to the next table to have some more bits added to it. The object was completed by the 4th group and handed to the referee for inspection. The task of the managers was to make sure the workers got it right. My task was to make sure the managers got it right. You're right, Ice Bunny. They play Lego. Why would you not say yes to building Lego? Maybe because you're really shy or something. I don't know. A lot of things happened at once. Putting those little bricks together was tricky. At each table, piles of duff sub-assemblies collected. So duff here means like ones that didn't work. Sometimes a completed object did make it to the end of the line, only to be rejected. Disputes broke out between the tables. There was a lot of shouting. My team of managers were worked off their feet. I realized it is hard work being a manager. The workers blamed the management blamed me. I tried to remember how to look calm and confident. If anyone, having lost their way to the university's art department, had looked in on the scene, they would reasonably have been impressed by the sheer scale of activity. Everyone was furiously busy checking, carrying, informing, suggesting, inspecting, disagreeing. This clearly was a group of highly motivated people. If people can work with this level of enthusiasm on the task of assembling little plastic bricks, what chance has the competition? The world is beaten. The problem was not that not one single assembly was put together correctly. The sound and fury signified nothing. It became clear, even to me, that there must surely be a better way of doing it. After some trial and error, the tables were rearranged. They were pushed against each other in a row. The group at each table now worked to a rule, only one sub-assembly to be made at a time, then to be placed in reach of the group at the next table waiting to be picked up. When the next group found that there was something wrong with it, the two groups would get together and work out the problem. There was good reason now to apply their minds. Neither table would even attempt to make another assembly until the problem with the first one had been cracked. And only one sub-assembly could now be in play at the same time. Problems were revealed quickly. People talked to each other, the shouting stopped. And then the talking too got quieter. The production workers had worked out how to get it right every time. Something new began to come from the tables, a sense of quiet satisfaction. And the management, quite suddenly, I remember my pivotal role as CEO and looked around to see what the other members of my management team were doing. It can easily be summarized. We were standing in a straight line with our arms folded. We were observing the scene and trying to make ourselves believe that we were in some way responsible for the smoothly running model of diligence, accuracy, and intelligence. But then we realized we were out of work. I would have been out of work anyway, so for me it was a lucky reprieve. I could leave with relief and honor, but for those in my teams it was a moment of truth. If you declutter things so that the problems become visible, and you set things up so that people talk to each other and start to believe they can work things out for themselves, you're calling on information processing power, which has a tendency to be overlooked. It is right there in the space above the nose. You need some reasonably well-defined intention in the first place, but within that frame of reference, there's freedom to invent. It is called lean thinking. And right, so this point here is that we've organized human systems to actually overlook individuals' intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. And we've created these hierarchical structures that are, if you actually fixed all of the problems, management would no longer be necessary. So we are then incentivized to not innovate as much as possible. And we discourage collaboration. We discourage creativity in a lot of our day-to-day lives. And that also tends to lead to a deep sense of dissatisfaction for most of us, where we feel like I'm just a cog in a machine, or you have a useless job that you know is useless, or you have a job that needs to constantly defend itself through things like drama. And that creates a sense of stress and precarity. So let's get into what this book is then actually going to try to talk to us about. The story kind of sets the stage. So lean thinking described in this book should not be taken as a comprehensive guide to how to run a railway or make tanks. Rather, it is about how to recruit the intelligence and purpose of the people in the extraordinary task of inventing a future. And here is why we need to do so. The story. When long-established systems break down, they often do so in many different ways at the same time. Our economy and society depend on a lot of things working right all the time. Cheap and reliable flows of energy, a stable climate, fertile soils, abundant fresh water, productive oceans, an intact diverse ecology, high levels of employment, and a cohesive culture. These are all in trouble. Really, for our world to function as it is functioning right now, we need all of these things to work together. The cheap and reliable flows of energy are the things that we're talking about with Russia could just turn off the gas and oil at any time, and that would throw a lot of the world into big problems. Ukraine's soil being so fertile and exporting so much of its grain to other countries, if things don't fix in the near future, there could be major food shortages in a lot of the world. And we've got things like these unprecedented heat waves in India that are likely to cause a lot of crop failures because the heat waves started months earlier than they normally do and have been a lot longer and a lot more intense, and crops are going to fail. And India has just said it's not going to export any grain because if you don't have food to feed your people, your economy can't move. And fresh water is a big problem. We've got plasticization of water and forever chemicals like PFAs and stuff in water. And a lot of our water is becoming increasingly unsafe, and it's hard to get access to more water. We could, desalinate ocean water, but that's incredibly energy intensive. And the salt balance of the ocean is incredibly important for things like the Gulf Stream. And the Gulf Stream is not just from the Gulf up, it's kind of this whole network that goes through the whole planet's oceans that regulates the weather systems and the temperatures of a lot of the planet. If the Gulf Stream fails, part of the function of the Gulf Stream is about temperature and salt density of the water, and then this colder, saltier water goes down to the bottom and that recycles underneath, lower down in the ocean. I'm kind of digressing, but this is a very important system. If that destabilizes, it's already been slowing down. If that destabilizes, a lot of Europe is going to become not very habitable or not able to sustain as many people, because Europe's weather, if you look at most of Europe, is above the sort of main latitude line that divides the United States and Canada. And if you know about Canada, most people, the largest concentrations of the population, live right near the border, because the further up you go, you get into permafrost. You get into places that it's incredibly expensive for people to live, because unless you're able to live off of things like seal and caribou, and it's not everybody is able to do that. It's certain genetic mutations that allow you to survive on almost exclusively meat and fat diet. You have to spend a ton of money to ship in fresh produce, and that's incredibly expensive and not very sustainable. And you can't really grow a lot of stuff that far north, not just because of sunlight, but because of temperature. And so the Gulf Stream is what makes a lot of Europe as mild and temperate and beautiful as it is. All of these systems are incredibly important, and they're all interdependent on each other. And, our oceans, if they get too acidic, for example, the life in the ocean will die, and it will actually stop producing fish and seafood, but then also being a carbon sink. Right now, the oceans absorb a ton of the carbon in the atmosphere, and if it gets too acidic, it would actually become more of an emitter of problems. Hi, Aradin. So we really depend on all of these things working well together. And if we don't have this, things are going to be really difficult. The book Surviving the Future talks a lot about how we can create a better world through what we know about history and economics and psychology and sociology and biophysics. The book Secular Cycles is, I think, a really good companion to this book, because it talks about what has happened in societal collapses in the past, and high levels of unemployment and not a stable climate, right? A difference of about 2 degrees in the British Isles sort of region of the world is probably what caused the Black Plague to happen, and famines that came along with it at the same time, right? A tiny, tiny difference there. And people were already dying of crop failures and starvation in England even before the plague, and then also after it got worse because of this tiny difference in temperature. And so all of these things really are connected. So, as the book says next, how should we respond to this? Well, with care, application, and references, no doubt, and we shall come to that. But for now, 4 kinds of responses are possible. That is, 4 paths which lead off their different directions, each of which counts as the most enticing and delightful one, depending on who is looking at them. So the first one is market economy, or growth. Market economies, like bicycles, are only stable when they are moving forward, and that for an economy means growth. Growth keeps unemployment down and government solvent. These are extremely good reasons to keep it going. How could any responsible government and business establishment contemplate anything else? The snag is that growth destroys the foundations on which it relies. This is the double bind of growth. We are damned if we do, damned if we don't. So this response sees us as just continuing to try to grow. The next one is continuity. Could we not reform the economy to protect those foundations from further damage, or better still, repair them? For instance, why not work out how to achieve the double delight of growth and repair? The snag here is that there's no sign whatsoever of that really being possible. Alternatively, we might try continuing while calling a halt to growth itself, but there are problems with that too. It could do nothing to reduce the accumulated damage, which is already more than the Earth can bear, and the lack of growth would break the economy. Descent. This steep winding down of the size of the industrial economy. It strips away its burdens and complications, nurses the human ecology back to health, builds local competence, and discovers a sense of place. See, we've got the lovely thing we've been talking about so much, a sense of place. Where was I? I got too excited. It thinks afresh about how to get out of the aforementioned double bind. The descent itself is inevitable, as is the breakage that follows. And yet, this is managed descent, in contrast with descent that forces itself on an economy blindly or unawares, straining for growth. The shock is as gentle and as survivable as foresight can make it. So this here is a degrowth model. This would be a degrowth option, which is saying we recognize we can't reform our economy. We can't just keep growing. We don't want to just go until the end and everything falls apart. We don't want to just fall over the net energy cliff. This would be an intentional slowing down of things, a degrowing, of slowly changing our ways of life. Everything would radically change, but it would be a managed descent. The last option is collapse. This future sees events moving out of our grasp. I think a lot of people would find collapse really exciting, but most likely if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, collapse though, societal collapse would just be so fun, probably statistically you would die. And not in a nice way, not in like some cool, I'm fighting zombies, I'm saving people, probably just of starvation or heat stroke or something. So we don't really want that one. Okay, surviving the future is about descent, so this third option. It is the path that has both reality and hope. So this is one of the things I want to stress. This book is in between hope punk and doom punk. It's not either. It's much more of a realist thing. It's a hopeful in the sense of we can survive the future. We can make the future better. We can actually have a world in which things are good and which there is still joy and creativity and arts and festival. And in fact, this book talks a lot about how festival and carnival and celebration are going to be essential to that future. It's one of the things, if you've seen the miniseries Station 11, it's like after, I'm not going to give too many spoilers, just a general synopsis. It's like shows you during the start of a pandemic, like a flu pandemic that kills like 90-something% of all people, and then like 20-something years later, and it follows this one girl mostly, and she was like a Shakespearean actress when she was a little girl before the pandemic, and then she's continued with that. And so she and these other groups of people are a traveling theater troupe. So the world fell apart. Small communities have grown up. Society has changed. Some people responded really well. Some people didn't. And they're this sort of traveling theater troupe that goes around this loop in Chicago, around the Great Lakes. And they do Shakespeare tragedies some years, comedies other years. And I actually really like this because this is incredibly realistic of like how the future would be survivable in a way where we can have joy and thrive and things could be good. If you haven't seen Station 11, it's great, so I recommend checking it out. Okay, continuing, and I'm only going to read a little bit further before we start gaming. The ways in which the descent could develop are so varied that there is a risk of being unable to move forward because of the uncertainty. So surviving the future focuses on a particular aspect of it, an aspect that matters intensely for all of us. As the industrial economy descends, unemployment will rise, and there will come a point when government revenues are so deeply reduced that funds are not there to support the unemployment or to pay for such fundamentals as education, health, and law and order. Households and communities will find it hard, bordering on impossible, to pay their way. Such necessities as food and even water supplies could be hard to get. Communities will therefore have to provide these things for themselves or do without. They will need to rediscover their locality and local skills, rebuild a culture, and apply the power of lean thinking, sharply focused and widely shared. So, this is basically one of the main paragraphs I really want to think about today. Because regardless of if we choose controlled descent or we wait until everything collapses, in the future, maybe our lifetimes, maybe our children's lifetimes, this is going to happen. And we need to be prepared for it. Now, I always say that there's a small chance that we'll have some beautiful technological breakthrough that'll just save us and we'll, cold fusion or whatever, and it'll be perfect and we won't ever have to think about this again. And climate change will be solved because of the magic of technology and we never go over the net energy. Like, that could be cool. That could be cool. Like, I'm not going to say that that is not possible, but we should not continue forward assuming that will happen. I wrote a short story last year for like a hope punk contest because the contest seemed really cool, and I was like, yeah, not really a hope punk kind of person, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm glad I entered the contest because it helped me realize I don't ever want to write that kind of literature again, because it made me feel a little icky, because it was kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it, but I didn't really like it because I'm like, this doesn't feel realistic. And the stories that won were also kind of just meh. I don't know. And my kitties are like, is it dinner time yet? Please don't step on my USBs. Okay. One second. I'm going to take my cats off my thing because otherwise they're going to fight because they both want to be on it at the same time. She just wrapped her little hands around it. She's like, don't pick me up. I want to be on here. So you're a good kitty, but no. Okay. So anyway, we have to think about how could we create a better future? This is one of the reasons why I love doing things like talking about consent, and I love teaching about things like communication skills and interpersonal effectiveness. How do you actually get along with and work with people you disagree with? And I'm not talking about like working with neo-Nazis or someone who thinks you should die. I mean, like, people where you have fundamental differences in your perspectives, but you might have to work together. How do you figure out how to build a community that is actually a community? I've mentioned before in the stream that a lot of times people talk about things like the swing dance community or like the gaming community, but for the most part, I don't love the use of the word community there, because I think most of the time what we're meaning is like people I spend money with or people who like the same thing I do. But there's not actually a sense of like interdependence. There's nothing to really keep you, accountable to each other or, invested in each other, because you're just like, well, if I don't like this community, I can just leave. There's not this idea of like our futures are interdependent. We don't really think about that. So we could build real community. Part of that includes like us actually getting to know our neighbors and having relationships with them, which is not always the most exciting. But part of why it's so not exciting for so many people is we've created a sense of place that's incredibly alienating and where we feel actively discouraged from creating those bonds with our neighbors. And how often in movies and TV shows is the friendly neighbor kind of derided as, oh my goodness, what is wrong with them? Why are they bringing me delicious baked goods? Whoa, they must be some kind of creep. Like, that's basically how it's often portrayed. Or like, they must just be nosy or have some, no, maybe they just want to be friendly. And so I think it's good to think about, how would you want to build this future? If we're going to have to provide for ourselves, be able to grow our own food, make our own clothing, have our local education, we're going to need to be able to do local medicine, art, culture, all of these things, right? If gas continues to become more and more expensive, which is very likely to, us all being spread out from our friends and family, it's going to become a situation where we might only see people once every couple of years because we won't have the money to really go see each other. International travel, flying, is very likely to not disappear, but to become something that is very rarely available or accessible to most of us. This is not doesn't have to be a scary thing. I mean, there's still sailboats. We can still travel. It would just mean a journey would take a lot longer. And I wouldn't want that to be only available to the very rich. I would want people to be able to do that. It would be cool if we still had like gap years where like young people got on sailboats and like sailed around the world and did exchanges for like a year or two, and then they came back and then like entered into, some kind of apprenticeship or something like that as a way to still have that experience. Like we could do these things, right? We can do. It's still a good technology. The sailboat is like solar and wind technology. It's great. I love sailboats, and we can still have this. So the book goes on into talking about this idea of a climateric, which is this idea of it says here, a stage in the life of a system in which it is especially exposed to profound change in health and fortune. I also like to think about as in just like ecology, the idea of the intensity of changes, like a small intensity change or disruption doesn't tend to matter into an ecosystem. Depends on the scale that we're talking about. Like a single tree falling over in a forest doesn't tend to, on the forest level, make a huge difference, but on the smaller level, it allows a lot of new plants to kind of compete for that space that's been opened up by the tree cover, or new things to like live off of that dead tree, or you can have other things happening. And like a huge change, like a forest fire that burns down the whole forest, could be something that becomes unrecoverable. But medium scale disruptions tend to produce more robust systems, ecologically speaking. I know I've talked about this before, and it's also true psychologically. Like people who sort of only ever have really little things go on wrong with their life, or people who have a lot of trauma. It's not to say that they're bad or there's anything wrong, but in terms of like psychological flourishing and growth and development, it's the medium intensity, medium scale disruptions of our lives that tend to produce the better outcomes and allow for the most growth. You can have growth from small and large things in terms of humans and our psychology, but the sort of medium scale ones tend to help us. I know I'm digressing, but I think it's really important to think about how would we want to do this. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and play some Stardew Valley. Because I think that Stardew Valley is a really good place to think about what would this actually look like? Because Stardew Valley has some of these things to offer, because it is a small scale local community, right? Like it is fairly self-contained. There is still obviously trade in between, because like how else does Pierre, for example, get all the stuff that he sells? And there would still be that. There would be trade. There would be specialization of different regions like there used to be. Just waiting for Stardew Valley to start. And let me look at what y'all are saying in the chat in the meantime. Let me back up. Aradin, you said, sadly, it seems that collapse is currently the most likely. And I would say yes. Disturbo and I recently read Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, which envisions the scenario of societal collapse. Yeah, it's a very good book. I really recommend it. Ice Bunny, Danes would be crying in their beers if they do not get free stuff from the government. I'm from the Danish minority in Germany, and I was raised on the government is there to help you if you were in a pickle. See, the thing is that it can be, and we could create a system where like that still is true, and what that looks like and at what scale we're talking about is likely what's going to have to change. And I don't want to say like, oh, people with like severe disabilities or something are just going to be left on their own. Like that might happen if we don't plan things very well, because we won't have the resources unless like very small scale at local levels communities choose to prioritize different people's needs. But we are looking at what the government provides and to what extent changing. And then Paladin Hulk Interdependence Day would have been a very different movie. I like that. Arad, and there's very little community in that sense these days. Sadly, given how we've handled the pandemic so far, I don't think this would ever actually start happening until it's forced on us. I mean, probably. Probably. I think that you're most likely right. We're not gonna likely do a lot of these things until we have no choice. And the thing is though, look at what we're doing right here. You all have been coming every week for months now to listen to me talk about these things, to listen to me sort of go into detail about how we could make a better world, to sort of hopefully empower you with the sort of toolbox of the idea of consent based on autonomy, of, the ways in which we have to work together, the ways in which we need information to make decisions. We're talking about these things. That's already making a difference because at the very least for all of you, and these ideas are not all mine, right? I'm just sort of like putting it all together and presenting it. I'm sort of doing like the science communication more than the science itself. But like, this is how we can make a difference. Let me see. What is the fortune teller telling me? Mildly perturbed. I think tomorrow is going to be rain. Cloudy with gust of wind. Okay. Okay. Is there anything special happening today? Is today the fair? I don't remember. Let me look at my mail. Let me look at my messages. Collections, letters. Stardew Valley fail reminder. I think that's today. I think that's today. I think it's the fair. All right, so let's get going on the chores. I'm gonna harvest these things. Look at all of this stuff. This is a regular feast today. Wow. So we're already talking about this stuff, and this is information that you can all take, and you can learn more about it if you want. You can go and look at the sources I've shared, but also look at a lot of other stuff that's like sort of we've talked about on and off, and go deeper into these ideas and empower you to start to create local systems. And some of the things that you can do is like learn how to grow your own food and how to preserve food, how to do things like pickling or canning that's like very low. I mean, a lot of stuff is from like the prepper community. This is part of how I got into the prepper community. I'm not like, I know the kind of prepper who's like, I just want guns, and if society collapses, I can kill people. Like, there's definitely that kind of person. And I'm just like, okay, dude, yeah, I worry. But thank you to Chipron for confirming that today is the fair. Yeah, I got to do the Grange display, so I got to get my best items together. So, we can use this information. I think one of the things that Stardew Valley does really right is it shows a great example of what this can look like. And it shows the issues that will still likely come up. Like for Shane, Shane really struggles because he doesn't really have a place of belonging in this community very well. And it's not like people are going out of their way to try to give him one. It's very much like people are kind of being left to fend for themselves. And I think that that's something communities could do better, which is not to say like being super nosy or super controlling or like holding everybody's hand for everything, but just having better on ramps, better like systems, more ritual, like coming of age kind of thing, and life's milestone markings and things like that to sort of make it so that it's easier for people who sort of fallen out of the path to get back into it, to like not be in a position where things are difficult for them, to find social belonging, to have meaning, to have things like that. Oh no, wrong direction. Wrong direction. Okay. All right. I think I watered everything. I gotta go pet the chickens. Got this one, and here's the other one. Yeah, I got them both. Okay. Okay. Think I'm good. Oh, look at this. I got some jam. Could I put the purple melon jelly up there? Is that possible? Probably not. Probably not. Okay, I got too much stuff in my inventory right now to do anything. So let's go over here. Okay, I'm gonna put everything in there that I can, and I'm gonna take out what I can. Purple, purple. All right. No, I might want to keep that. All the silver stuff is going in here. All right. So I think that's all my purple things, but let me look in the other box. Yes, it's all my purples. Let me double check up here. Any other purples? Don't see anything. Other purples? Nope. And then one last box I can check in. No more purples. Okay, got it. Mayonnaise. So let me come back here and just get some more gold star stuff. Let's see here. Got gold star cranberry. I got gold star fish, gold star grapes, gold star hops, gold star tomato. How many items can I even put in? This is probably everything I can fit. I'll just take these eggplants with me just in case. And I'm gonna take these grapes just in case I need some food. All right, this should be good. Should be good. So yeah, I think, we can see here Stardew Valley. It's not perfect. It's not doing everything completely right. It's not like a utopia, but it's doing a lot better. No, but I do need to get tokens today so I can get, oh yeah, are you strong like me? Smash the stone. Almost. Strength levels, oh my goodness, no. Yeah, look at that. Now that's what I like to see. Here, have a star token. Woohoo! Okay, I'm gonna talk to people. Caroline, Pierre is very serious about his Grange display. He's been setting aside the best looking produce for weeks in preparation. Best of luck to you if you enter. Let's see, Pierre, what do you got to say? My store carries the very finest products in the whole valley. Please inspect my Grange display closely and see for yourself. All right, let me put my Grange display up. I got my fishy. I got there. I got this fishy here. I got this fishy here. All right, cranberry. I got my artichoke. I got this guy. My cats must see some birds because they're making the cute little sound. Let's do tomato. What do y'all think? Do you think this is a good Grange display? Let me know. Ice Bunny, you said, I have an elderly lady here who has something from people that have a connection to the south side of the border, and she is so invested in me. I guess I am the embodiment of all her biases, and I hate when she chats me up and lets her passive aggressive hate rain down on me. And it is always the feeling that she thinks my existence makes a slice of free stuff she can claim for herself. And she was so pissed when I mentioned that I may move to Berlin. That's difficult. That's a lot of like assumptions and entitlement getting projected on you. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. And if you move to Berlin, I hope you enjoy it. All right. How do people feel about this Grange display? What do y'all think? Good. Meh. Should I put something else in? Should the mayonnaise go in? I feel like if Reverend Mort were here, mayonnaise would go in. Maybe we should do it just in honor. As Reverend Mort has mentioned many times, love of mayonnaise. Yes to the mayonnaise. Okay, let's put it in instead of the hops. All right, this looks good. We'll see if we win. Um, all right, let's say hi to Marnie. Marnie, I tried my best, but my display is pretty weak compared to Pierre's. I don't know, the cheese looks amazing. Well, maybe the judges will give me bonus points for the master cheese wheel. Yeah, I would. Willie, yours is so cute and organized. Are you setting up a Grange display, Ariel? It's your chance to show off all the good produce from Castle. Heck yeah. Let's talk to the goth chick. Tourist, wow, that's very, that's the biggest cheese wheel I've ever seen. Very impressive. Nice. Nice. Let's go up here. Nothing up there. I'm not going to check in the trash while everybody's around. Hey, Shane, let's talk. All these animals are friendly and love to get massaged. Shane, you are an adorable human. Moo. All right. Yes. Ow, a hen pecked my little finger. Yeah, I mean, hens will do that. Harvey, and just a few steps over there, Gus is grilling up a patch of pork ribs. Yikes. I've got some soul searching to do. Oh, are you thinking of, I'm locked in now, being a vegetarian just because you're seeing how cute the pigs are? I mean, that's fair. Some people do that. Some people go into vegetarian and veganism from cuteness. Linus, these animals never judge people by their looks. The same can't be said for humans. Yep, it's absolutely true. The same cannot be said for humans. Going around. Let's talk to the wizard. Welwick and I have known each other for a long time. She is a remarkable diviner and a good friend. ... All right, let's see what the diviner has to say. No thanks. I don't have that much gold. I mean, like I have 100 gold, but I don't have 100 gold to spend on that. Womp womp. Okay. All right, Leah. I really admire Robin's carpentry skills. I use a lot of the same techniques in my own line of work. Robin. Woodworking is an ancient tradition that I'm very proud to be a part of. So one of the things I also like to think about is how like focusing on local community building more would lead to more local culture. Like this is one of the things that makes me kind of sad. If you travel to a lot of big cities in the world, no matter what continent you're on, a lot of them have become all the same. It's the same big luxe shopping stores and chains, fast fashion, fast food. Like things are all starting to kind of feel the same everywhere. And this is not to say that this is inherently bad in the sense of like people having access to things, but maybe sometime on stream I should read you all an article about dialectical materialism and cultural reproduction through objects and like material reality and culture. Because I think that it's really important to think about how like culture is also part of like the things it produces, the works it creates. It's not just like objects that we use, it's also the idea of like the, you know, art that we make, the literature, the culture. And Robin having woodworking, right? Like if we had more local culture, these things would develop and differentiate more. And that would often lead to more creativity. Like I think that Horkheimer and Adorno really got it right. As another thing we should read in class, not in class and stream together. I used to read it in my classes in university. My teachers would always give it out, which is uh, looking at how mass culture creates a world in which we all tend to think the same, which means we also have a tendency to be more likely to value the same things, which means we prioritize the same things, which we also means we approach problems in the same way. We approach culture in the same way. Lots of good stuff we could read together. All right, Marlin. Clint's blades get sharper every year. So do his prices. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Clint, I complain about my job sometimes, but I do take pride in my work. These are some of my finest pieces. I hope you like them. Nice. It looks lovely. I wish I could buy anything from you. All right, so we got Sebastian being too cool. Kind of hectic today. I'm just going to hang out here for a while. Understandable. Sam, hey Ariel, having a good time. The slingshot tet is pretty fun. If you get good at it, you can really rack up the star tokens. Nope, fishing is what I do. This guy, like, if you always bet on green, you tend to double things pretty quickly, but I tend to not have good luck there. Penny, I won the Wheel of Chance 10 times in a row, and now the man won't let me play anymore. Taurus, what are you going to say? It's a fine looking town you've got here. Nice and cozy, a real sense of community, right? Look at this. Nice and cozy, a real sense of community. I mean, senses of community is not just the idea that everybody knows each other and like everybody knows what everybody's up to. Like that can actually get kind of oppressive in a way. And Stardew Valley is such a small town that it would likely be difficult to live there. You know, in the sort of long-term sense, you would want more sort of people and more systems happening in this town. You don't want there to be just the one store that everybody is dependent on and the one place to go for, you know, social interaction, the saloon. And like you would want more than that. But and I do want to like a lot of people worry when we talk and I talk about like tight communities, meaning like the very oppressive, like every little granny peeking out her windows, telling everybody your business, and like my neighbors in Japan being highly aware of how often I ate pizza and then asking me if I was worried about gaining weight and stuff. And that's not great, right? It's more of like a awareness of your interdependence, a creation of shared responsibility for the culture that you're making together, the space, the sense of place that's being built, the welcoming people. Now, this can always go awry. You can have cultures and communities that are not welcoming. You know, there's the, I like the song Tiny Town by, gosh, okay, the band's name just left my head. They also sing Big Lizard in My Backyard, which is like one of their albums. What's the name of this band? Why did it just leave my head? Okay. You're right, Aradin. We are going to need to add a reading stream at some point. Uh, oh my God, what's the name of this band? Oh, I gotta give me a second. I'm gonna just look it up. I don't know why it like literally left my head as I went to tell you. No, not Lane Hardy. The Dead Milkmen. The Dead Milkmen. Punk band, early punk band. Uh, some of the songs are problematic for sure. Um, but their Tiny Town song talks a lot about being like tiny towns being very oppressive and unwelcoming and not wanting, you know, Jewish people and black people and gay people in the town. And that can happen. And there are lots of reasons why that happens. And it doesn't have to be the fate of every small town and community that it becomes incredibly hostile to all difference and outsiders. You know, category boundaries exist and they exist to serve purposes to help us with communicating and differentiating things. And like gatekeeping, for example, is not always inherently a bad thing. I'm digressing a lot today. I'm very excited. All right, Ice Bunny. That's who my mom. That's who my mom grew up in a tiny three-street villages, and everyone and everyone's business and gossiping. And I left for the big city to be anonymous. Yeah, I mean that can definitely happen for sure. It's you know that's not what you want, and part of why everybody does this gossiping and like power jockeying is because they don't have sources of meaning and like shared ritual and shared community bonding. And there's not the same kinds of things. Like, I think that this is a huge part of why a lot of tiny towns end up being rough places to live because there ends up being this sense of competition and like a very like high school who's the most popular vibes. It doesn't have to be that way. All right, Abigail, I already all beat the games. Beat all the games, now what? All right, let me go buy some tokens. Just 50. Oh, they're 50 a piece. Let me get 5? No, 10. 10? 10. And then I'll use these as my baseline. Um, Let me just talk to these people. Alex, I played the strength game too many times. Now my arms feel like rubber. Haley, have you been to the fortune teller? She set up her stand in the graveyard. Pam, better hurry up, kid, before old Pam here fishes out every last lunker out of the tent. Oh, Demetrius, I didn't talk to you. Robin really works hard on her carpentry stuff. She deserves a little recognition now and then. And this is another thing, like community recognition for what you offer a community in whatever unique way, even if it's just your labor, is important. Emily, I would have made a pretty good clown. I think I missed my calling. And when I say just your labor, I don't mean like just your labor. I mean more like the idea that it doesn't have to be something unique that only you can do and to be valuable, to be spectacular. Jody, he doesn't look very happy. I guess Mary Lewis had to cut costs with a budget clown this year. I don't know. Not everybody has to like their job, dude. It's a person's job. They don't have to be happy about it. All right. I think I talked to everybody. All right. I'm going to give this one shot. One shot. I'm going to bet on green, and I'm going to bet 5, and let's see how this goes. Let's see how it goes. Yes, winner. Okay, sweet. And then I'm gonna bet again on green. I'm gonna just do 5 again because I still don't have that many. Ugh. Okay, I lose. All right, I'm gonna go fishing. I probably would win if I did it again because green tends to win. But what I really need here is enough to get the token because the thing that'll give me more health. That's what I'm trying to say, and stamina. So this one it's tough because there isn't the exclamation point, and if you're using a controller, you do get a rumble, but I'm using a keyboard and mouse, so I don't get the rumble. And you don't need to cast far to get better fish. You just want to cast as quickly as possible in this mini game, so you get the most out of it. Oh, I should have done it then. It was wiggling. Okay. Nope, wrong direction. This is not a very good run. That's fine. That's fine. Do it again. All right, come on, fishy. Let's go. And you get more points in this mini game for the more perfect fish you get, so it's actually really nice to get perfects if you can, but it's hard. So yeah, like, I think that also elderly people can get really like that also because they tend to have little power, right? They get a lot of disempowerment. We don't tend to have as much sort of like respect for elders. And I think that a lot of people do things like bully in different ways as a power thing. I think that's a huge, huge part of it in general, regardless of the age, is a way to feel your autonomy. And I think the more we actually affirm and honor people's autonomy, the less we would have of this, because the less it would be kind of necessary for people to sort of interact with a sense of autonomy through harming other people. And, I think that you'd get less of this problem if they had things to do, other than just like sit in their home and look out the window. And like, if that's really all you have to do all day, yeah, I mean, of course you're going to be kind of obsessed with what's happening outside your window. If you don't have like a strong family relationship and you don't have, a way in which you feel needed in your community and your family and the people you care about, and you don't have a lot of autonomy. This is not to make excuses for not okay behavior. It's just to say that this is an unsurprising thing that we have so many elderly people and not just elderly people, so many people um, who do these kinds of things. There, even if we had like a perfect society where everyone's needs are being met, we'd still have people who were just assholes, right? And who would want to control other people and who would want to kind of gossip. And I think that there's some amount of that just kind of going to happen. But we could have ways of dealing with it, right? We could have structures that make it so that it's not so painful to have people who are just weird in these ways and controlling. I gotta concentrate on fishing. I keep not getting good fishing because I'm not concentrating enough. All right. Oh, I was so close to being perfect on this one. Oh no, I just went a little off. All right, again, let's do it again. Come on. Oh, I ran out of time. No, okay. Okay. 96 stars. It was better the first time. How many star tokens do I need to get this star? Yes. 2,000. What are the other things here? Do a glowstone ring would be nice. Do I not already have one? I don't think I do. No, the glowstone ring would be really nice. So I gotta get to at least 2,000. Ooh, yikes. That's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while, so we're gonna be here for a little bit. We'll fish and see if we can get things. Oh, but if I win the Grange display, I get like 1,000 tokens, I think. All right, well, we'll do a little bit more fishing and then we'll see. Or maybe it's like 500. I don't know. Yes, I got a perfect one. Nice. Okay. Oh, trash. How can there even be trash in this pool? Ridiculous. Who comes in? Who pays 50 gold to come in here and throw their trash? Oh, there's a difficult fishy. Oof. So, I'd love to hear all y'all's ideas about how we could, thinking about that paragraph that really highlighted what I wanted to talk about in surviving the future. What we could do. How could we create more local competence? How could we reconnect to our land? Like this is one of the things I think about a lot is that we don't have such a sense of place in terms of our relationship to the land a lot of the time that when things are changing it becomes harder for us to notice. I think there's some countries where it's much easier. I think that if you're living in a place where you go out of a big city and like within 15 minutes you're in the middle of a forest, and there's that much nature around you, it makes a big difference. From what I've been told, even places like Stockholm are that way, where you're in the big city and then you really don't have to go very far outside of it before you're just in the middle of nature. And as long as people are leaving and experiencing that, you're more likely to start to notice as things change. Okay. I like that, Ditchabron. The getting to know. Yeah, Helen Hulk, not everybody likes nature. That is true. Ditchabron, you said getting to know our farmers, joining farm box or CSA programs for sure. Okay. Well, Ariel, it's the big day, our most important festival of the year, the Stardew Valley Fair. If you'd like to participate, yep, got an empty space for you. Judging, come judge me. Judge me. Yeah, all right, sweet. We'll see. We'll see if I won. Probably not because I didn't have that many purples, but maybe. Paladin Hulk, I don't know, not everyone likes nature, and that's absolutely true. I mean, not everybody has to like nature. I like nature, but I love living in the city. I love there always being like arts and culture and like record shops and concerts and that kind of thing to go to. And I wouldn't necessarily get depressed if there weren't all those things, but I would be bummed for sure. Um, all right, what are you saying, Mary Lewis? Okay, it's been judged. Oh, my prize is 30,000 tokens. Yeah, yeah. How many tokens do I have? Not enough to buy the thing I need to buy. All right, we can do this. Couple more times at the. I have too many things. My inventory is like totally full. I'm not sure why I did that. I'm only gonna buy. I think the area near the community center, is it blocked off? I think it's blocked off, but there's an upper area where you can get like free burgers and stuff, right? Is that what you're talking about? Um, yeah, up here. Right, because there's George and such. All right, George says, smoked turkey haunch. I guess the festival isn't all that bad. Yeah, it's good. Evelyn, I wish guests would include a vegetarian option, maybe some zucchini skewers. Yeah, Gus. Eat as much as you like. It's all free today. Compliments of Mary Lewis. All right, let's do it. Yeah, give me more burgers. Delicious. Delicious. I'm gonna eat 10 burgers. Yeah. That's probably enough. Probably enough. Oh, thank you to Chip Brown for not wanting to spoil anything. Elliot, I'm trying to get Gus to tell me his sauce recipe, but he won't budge. Yeah, I mean, like, probably his business. Tourist, man, I can't take another bite of this barbecue sandwich. So stuffed. Yeah, it's delicious. And then, Madhu, slurp, this barbecue sauce is amazing. Yeah, yeah, burgers sound good. Yeah, or on balance in all things is pretty key. It's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it is also true, right? Like having this balance, having the ability for us to sort of have options, right? There's paradise would not be great. People when I read books like Brave New World, and I think I've said this before, one of the scariest things to me is just like my people and my culture is dead in this world. I mean, there is a reservation and it's incredibly racist and messed up and full of problems. Um, and it's interesting book. But one of the things that to me, that is the clearest is like to create this utopia. There's a lot of oppression. There's a lot of, and like even still, even I don't remember her name. The main woman who like Bernard wants to date, and then the guy from the reservation wants to date. I don't remember the name of what's her name. Even she, who's like really, well integrated, and Helmholtz and Bernard, like all these characters from Brave New World, they're all like, kind of perfect and like perfectly integrated, except for Bernard in their own ways. And yet they feel deep dissatisfaction and they want something more to life, and they, you know, struggle and they don't know sort of like how to fit in all the way, and they recognize that they have differences in a culture that's trying to tell them that they are all the same and should be all the same. And I think that, there are many thoughts that I have related to this, but I think it's true that even in a culture that's hyper local, where we really create good, sources of meaning and interaction and senses of place and integration, there would still be people who'd be unhappy, which is why I think it would always be important to sort of autonomy. And when I say autonomy, like, a lot of the time we can talk about it as liberty. I gotta have to take my cats off of here because they're both trying to get on my computer. Look at this little rascal. He's the most tolerant cat I've ever had. He's really chill about things. Okay, cutie, we're gonna go off of the laptop. Yes, off of the laptop. Ugh. Yep. Okay. Because if I let them both, when they both want to be here, it's not big enough for both of them, and they just start fighting, and then it gets bad. Okay. A couple of you said some interesting things. Aradin also allowing space for different tastes and preferences. Definitely agree. Paladin Hulk, okay, here's a way to connect people to the land. Make a piece of land full of wild growing food. Let people who live in the area forage there for free. Host tours teaching people about the plants in which to eat. Cooking courses, etc. Yeah, I agree. I think that's really great. Look, having people who can be sort of ambassadors to helping us understand the place where we live is really important. And like connection to the land is not always about food and what things are safe to eat and not to eat, but that is a big part of it, right? You know, like a lot of human activity and like, what do I want to say? There's the stereotype from Freud that everything human beings do is about sex and access to sexual partners and reproduction. But I'd also say that a lot of it has to do with food, right? Like our instincts towards food come way before our instincts towards sex and reproduction. And I think those stick with us for a very long time. And so having a deep connection to the land in the sense of really knowing what does and doesn't nourish us, which will make us sick, which things have medicinal properties, even not with everybody having tons of specialized knowledge, but general, could be a real way to feel more connected. Like knowing things about the land and then being able to see like how is the land communicating with you? What is being said to you by the land based off of like, you know, even just how many dandelions you see tells you a lot about what's going on with the soil and what the soil needs. And yeah, I think it'd be really great. Ice Bunny, all utopias have a big dysfunctionality in them. Rodden, it also makes me think of a saying, a wise man's paradise is a foolish man's hell. I like that. Did Chevron? If I need to earn money at the fair and have some already, I sometimes play the spinning wheel and bet half of what I have. Yeah, I tend to have bad luck with that, though. And Rodden, as an asexual, I disagree with Freud. Yeah, I I disagree with that as well. I mean, I think I see the point that he's trying to make, but I think that yeah, asexual people exist. And lo-fi prints, food, safe place to sleep. Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, let me. I'm so close. I'm so close. All right, I'm gonna try the spinning wheel, and I'm gonna bet not half of my money, but I'm just gonna bet green because I know that that one tends to come up more. And try 250. We'll see. Yeah, 75% chance of winning on green. Somehow, though, I feel like I get that less. All right, we're gonna go green. We're gonna do 250. Ooh. Krillin, hey, why am I still streaming? It's late. Haven't finished the day. Gotta finish the day. Also, welcome back. All right, I gotta do a little bit more because I want to get the glow ring because that will be very helpful. Let's see. Let's see. Is it gonna win? Is it gonna work? 75% chance of winning on green. Oh my goodness. I don't even remember how much the glow ring. I have not played the game Pyre. Maybe I have. It sounds familiar. I'll have to look. But why do you ask? Are you recommending it? And Ice Bunny, but I still think all Sigmund eye roll, yeah. You think it's up my alley. Okay, nice. All right. Hopefully this is enough to buy the glow ring. Definitely enough to get the star drop. So that's important. Most important part of this day. Okay, star drop. Let's do it. Yeah. Woo! Getting the power. Lots of forks. Maximum energy level has increased. All right. Can I get the glowstone ring? No, I need 1,000. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. Maybe I'll end up with no money because I'll bet on green twice and it'll be wrong both times. All right. All right. Yeah, when I play Gaston in my other game, it's eggs. Raw eggs. Come on, green. Oh, no. No, it was the reference to Ariel liking dingle hoppers, which are forks. All right, 250. Let's see. Oh my gosh. No, no, I knew this was gonna happen. Oh man, okay. All right, 25. 25 it is. Let's see. Paladin Hulk, you said a bunch of fantasy people are banished to a lower land, which doubles as poverty, jail, hell. The people there play fantasy basketball-esque games to earn their way back to society. Unlike most other games, the game continues if you lose. Then your opponents just go back to society. Huh. That sounds very interesting. All right, bet on green. We're gonna bet 50 this time. Let's just live large. Ice Bunny. Sigmund's grandkid is an artist and weird and understanding when you know from who he shared genes with. Interesting, interesting. Oh yeah, okay. Nice, nice. So nervous when I play the spinning wheel game. Uh, all right, let's. This hurts me to do, but I'm gonna do 100. Okay. Oh my God, yes. Woo, woo, woo. All right, let's do 100 one more time. Oh, it still hurts me though. I hate looking at it. It's stressful. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Still gonna do 100. I'm not ready to bet half. Okay. Now I'm gonna lose. Oh, rough. Rough. Okay. Trying again. Trying again. 100. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Green. Oh, okay. Let's do it. Green, I'm gonna do 150 this time. Come on, green. Come on, green. Let's go. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's do 200. This is difficult, painful, painful game. I'm gonna lose. I feel it. What? No, I did. Okay. Wow. 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 All right. I'm gonna just bet 200 again. I can't do 300. I can't do it yet. No, no, 200. What am I doing? Okay. Come on, green. What? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. $250. All right, 250. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I think this is enough for the ring. Difficult day, y'all. Difficult day. It's very stressful. Yeah, glowstone ring. All right. I don't want any of this other stuff. I'm good. The rare crows are cute. I like this one, but I'm good. I'm good. I don't have time. I don't have time. Yep, the festival's gonna end. Woohoo. And now I'm gonna put the glowstone ring on because that's important. Where's my inventory? All right, yeah, like this. Yes, look at the glow immediately. Woo! Life is so much better. I glow now. All right, let's sell some stuff. Oh my gosh, the survival burgers gave me better foraging. That is hilarious. All right, I'm gonna sell all of this purple and gold star stuff because it's just too valuable to save it for other things. I need the money. Not gonna sell everything I own every time. Gotta get some. Let's just make some more peach jam. Not peach, melon. Melon jam. And let's make some more mayonnaise. More mayonnaise. Delicious mayonnaise. I need to go buy more mayonnaise. I think I ran out. I don't think I have any at home. All right. Oh, let's fill up our watering can. Automod hates you. Did you get automodded? I would have gotten a pop-up, I think. Bummer. Sorry. All right. Let me just... It's only 11. My crab pots still have nothing in them? Are you serious? Nothing. Nothing. Well then. Nothing. Nothing in my crab pots. Do I need to bait them? I thought I did. I thought I baited them. Pretty sure I did. Oh man, my cats hear birds and they're so excited. I got a bunch of bird feeders out there, which is great, and it's just cat TV. Let me see. Can I? Yeah, my crab pots are out here. Nope, I think. What did I? I don't understand. I don't understand. I get them to work. Okay. All right. Say hi to the puppy. Yes, puppy. All right, sleepy time. Let me see. If Charlie's on his way home, then I will probably stop here. But if not, I might do one more day. Gotta check my messages. Okay, he's on his way home. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can bait the crab pots. Look at that. I just sold them these things. I got so much more gold. So much more gold. Yes. All right, let's do one more day. I'm feeling one more day. I'm liking to hang out. It's nice to chat. We spent the whole day just fishing and baiting in a spinning wheel. I thought it was going to be bad weather today. Okay, fortune teller, neutral, weather report. Oh, tomorrow, thunder and lightning. I wish I had some of those lightning rods. Honey, yes, I got honey. Look at that. Look at that. I got honey. I can take it to the community center. That is exciting. Very exciting. And look, I got more mayonnaise. Mayonnaise just flowing everywhere. But when am I going to get any alcohol? That's the big question. All right, let's harvest some stuff. Look, I got some sunflowers. How long? 8 days? Okay, I can plant these sunflowers. All right. Yeah, my kitties are just going crazy. They're like, I hear birds out there. Amazing. All right, time to water the plants. Water, water, water. I love having the upgraded watering can though, especially on the beach farm where like you can't really put down sprinklers except in this one area, which after this winter, hopefully I'll be able to make good sprinklers. I don't know when that'll happen, but I would like to move my farm plots and to this little area where I can put down sprinklers because it's really nice to have sprinklers, and then focus on some animal husbandry. I have enough money now that I could actually probably get another barn and like an actual barn instead of a coop and get some. Yeah, that sounds nice. That sounds nice. That would be fun because then I could get cows so I could have milk and I could make cheese. And that would be really good because then I can do more stuff in the community center. And totally a hoarder in the game as well as IRL. I think that this game is fun for hoarding. And I really like the game The Long Dark because it also facilitates hoarding in a really pleasing way. It's very difficult to not just carry everything with you all the time. Uh, Very difficult. All right, let's put some water in the dog bowl. I'm gonna go say hi to the chickens. I'm so excited I have honey because I can bring it. I think I can finish. I have 2 apples. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That means that one of the things in the community center, we can finish it. Y'all, this is amazing. Amazing. I'm so excited. Silly Millie. Where's Krellin? Where is Krellin? Little chicken, where are you? Oh, there you are. There you are. All right, let's go get some eggs. Oh, man. All right, what of this do I need for the center? What? Wild honey? I thought I needed honey for the community center. What? I'm pretty sure you need honey for the. Right here? Yeah, I was looking for the chicken that I named after you. Alrighty, alrighty. Let me see here. I thought you needed honey for the community center. Was I wrong? I'm confused. Oh, I have melon jelly to sell. Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, I can put the maple syrup away. I really want more pine resin so I can make more barrels because that's one of the other best ways to make money in this game. So I should make some more tappers probably. Oh my goodness, kitty. Sometimes my cats jump from this window that I have here and they just go. Yes, I think that the chickens don't need hay today because they can get stuff out. It's good to do it ahead of time. It's true. All right, let me see. What do I need? Cheese press. I don't have cows yet, so I'm not going to do that. It's fine. Oak resin. That's what I'm talking about. Need more oak resin. What do I need to make this? Refined quartz iron bar and 5 bat wings. Do I have that? And then tappers. I just need wood and copper bars. Okay. Let's see what I've got. Let's see what I've got. I don't have enough copper bars. Could make another one. I could refine some quartz. And I do have the bat wings. Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. I gotta put some things out of my inventory. My inventory is quite full right now. I'm gonna sell those, save this for the community center. That's fine, that's fine. I know this is not how I normally organize it. I'm being terrible with my organization, but it's fine for the moment. Do another copper bar and let's do some refined quartz. This sounds great. Right. What else did I need for that? I just need 1 iron bar and 1 refined quartz and 5 bat wings. That'll be really nice. Really nice to be able to, yeah, just make batteries because you can use them for things. It's true, Arad, and it doesn't mean it's bad, but I try to be good about it because otherwise sometimes it can get very lost. I have lots of duplicates of things everywhere. Iron bar. I don't need all of these. I just need 1. 5 bat wings. I can get this copper bar. I'm gonna put the copper ore away, get the other copper bar, because I only need, what is it? Wood and a copper bar. Okay. Let's get some wood. Let's make another one of these tappers. Nice. That here. Make another refined quartz. Let's do that. Okay. Probably this is fine. Probably this is good enough. Okay, so I made another tapper. Which one's, oh man, I never remember which one is maple and which one. I think these orange ones are the maple. So I want the oak because the oak is what will give me more ability to make more barrels or kegs. All right, look at that. I made a lightning rod. Here we go. The lightning rod is really useful because it also protects your crops. Let's just put this in front of the house though. And we can kind of protect our house from getting struck by lightning. Hopefully, since tomorrow is going to be stormy. Let me look this up. Which one? Oak versus maple. Oak versus maple. Stardew. Let me see images. I gotta look this up real quick. Which one is which? Maple tree. So I think the oak is the orange. Yes. Oak should be the orange. So I think I've got, I can just put another tapper here and that should be good. That should be good. When did I get a recycling machine? I think that's a, I don't think that one is, I think it's just a kiln to make something or other. Recycling machine, I feel like I have one somewhere that I got from the community center or the turning things in, but isn't it like, yeah, I can put wood in there and it will make something. All right. Wish I had a phone because then I could call Robin. Yeah, it's a furnace. If I had a phone, I could call Robin. I could ask her the prices of things. That would be so nice. Can I take any of this to community center? I really thought you needed honey. I'm gonna take it with me anyway. Maybe it's just a glitch. I just don't believe that I don't need honey at the community center. I'm gonna do one more pass through and see if there's any of these things. Wow. Every once in a while, I'm just like sitting here doing nothing, and then I'll get smacked with like the memory of a smell or something. And I was just thinking of the memory of this type of incense I really like. And suddenly I'm just like overwhelmed with this smell. Does anybody like to practice remembering what different things smell like? Because I think it's really fun to try to call it to mind and be like, this is what this thing smells like. But I really like having a sense of smell. It's one of my favorite senses. Anything in here? Nope, nope. All right, one last pass through here. All right, well, it looks like, yeah, I know I can buy a phone from Robin, but I don't want to do that yet. I mean, like, I want to save my money. I can't believe I got apples already. That's so exciting. I got to buy more fruit trees because that's one of the things that I also really want to do in this beach farm is just have a lot of fruit. Oh, did you that's interesting. You associate a lot of shows with food you've eaten while watching them. Yeah. Caroline, hi there. Do you have everything you need for the farm? Yep. If not, we might be able to help you out. Nice. I forget what people like as gifts. I should get better at that. Remembering people's birthdays in this game. I've done very little. on the friendship front in this game. It's kind of funny. I think I need one apple here. I can totally complete this. Wait, oh, I need 3 apples. What? What? I need 3 apples. Okay, well, I should be able to get that. Purple mushroom. Oh my goodness, y'all. I feel like I'm all over the place today in this game. Do I have enough to pay for the next level? No, I'm not going to eat the apple. No. 10,000 gold. Oh, I could do the 5,000 gold bundle, but I want to save my money. I want to save my money to buy fruit trees. Ugh, I need cows and ducks. Can I even get a duck right now? That would be fun. I should go see if I can get a duck. But I think I need a bigger thing. Pine tar. All right, what is this? Winter foraging bundle. Okay, that'll be great. Yeah, you're right, Titibron. It is good to save money for winter. I think you're absolutely right. All right. All right. Let's do a wee bit of foraging. Let's just go around and see what we can get. And I'm going to go to Robin's and find out about some things. I also really want to upgrade my house so I can get a kitchen so we can finally cook. That would be so much fun. I love cooking in this game. It's very satisfying. But everything's so expensive. Okay. Upgrade house. What do I need for that? Ooh, 10,000 and 450 pieces of wood. Okay, I can get to 10,000, but not today. Construct farm buildings. I don't need another coop. Barn. 150 stone and 350 wood. Okay. 150 stone and 350 wood. I'm pretty sure I have all that. Unlocks ducks. Right, so I can't get ducks for a while. All right, well, I'm going to go back to... I'm not going to be able to get it today. Oh, let's talk to my boyfriend, Sebastian. Jan, what time is it? I think I slept too much last night. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get... I won't get home and get back in time before Robin closes, so it's fine. It's fine. We'll do it next time. Oh, this is a great gift. Thank you. Linus likes all the forageables, so it's pretty good. Except there's like one set of forageables he doesn't like. I don't remember which one. After you wary of strangers, most people don't like a wild man. Yeah, well, they're butts. They're cool. Demetrius, you're probably growing a lot of interesting plants on your farm, huh? Maybe I'll stop by your place someday and check it out. Yes, please feel free. Look at all these hazelnuts. This is great. This is great. Gotta save them to make roast hazelnuts. There's somebody in the town who really likes roast hazelnuts. And it's like their favorite food. Yeah. So thinking about the paragraph we read and thinking about sort of like communities having to provide for themselves, right? Also things that would be good to learn is like, how do you treat water to make it safer to drink? Especially if you don't have the ability to get like fancy water treatment tablets like iodine and stuff like that. How do you, one of the big ones I think about a lot is salt. Like if you don't live by the ocean, how are you going to get salt? Because we die without salt. We need salt to live. And if we don't have, and this is not to say that I think like everybody everywhere needs to know how to be completely able to survive on their own. Like I'm not that kind of person. I'm not, like I said, I used to be really into survivalism and like prepper stuff. And I thought a lot of things changed with the situation in Venezuela and following Venezuelan preppers and sort of what kind of, oh my goodness, just get those little wormies. Yeah, Krellin, just maybe I'll drop by your property, rich landowner neighbor, said nobody ever. I agree with that. And this is also still relevant when we talk about social mobility. If we think about communities needing to do without a lot of social resources and a lot of infrastructure and a lot of other things, we just won't be able to afford rich people anymore, right? Because it takes so much labor, it takes so many resources for us to be able to have. I mean, it's very, most of the time, non consensually have, but have rich people, right? Like they require an abundant supply of resources and the ability to overconsume a lot of stuff in order to exist. And I think that we're really going to not be able to have like the rich governor, whatever, sitting up in his mansion, just like skimming off the top of people's labor and telling them what to do. And, we'll need people who can be leaders and we'll need people who, have these things, but it doesn't have to be the person who's in charge also gets like huge excess. And thinking about sort of like how we could create a system where, it does reward people for things like hard work and achievement and self-sacrifice, but the reward isn't always just you get more stuff than everybody, you get more privilege than everybody. Like, one, that's boring, and I don't think that that's what everybody wants. Ooh, a warp totem for the beach. Nice. All right, I'm gonna need more wood probably for a lot of these building projects I want to do. So time to chop down some trees. Looks like this sprinklers are off now, so it's time to bring in the groceries that aren't protected by plastic bags. All right, Krellin. And to True you said sewing is very useful to skill to make clothes last longer, repairing, resizing. Exactly. Like this is the big one. Like learning how to take care of our things so that they last longer. And we can repair things in ways that are beautiful, right? Like learning to do things like embroidery, not even super fancy embroidery or anything, but just embroider so that when you're making a repair, it also beautifies the object in some sort of way. Or creating cool patches and things like that can be really nice. And I think that that's a really nice way to think about things. And this is not just an issue of what we're talking about. We're also talking about things like sustainability. How do you make the area more sustainable? How do you make it so that more people can actually live there? When we talk about the carrying capacity of an ecosystem, right? Having more of these tools and these abilities will increase the carrying capacity of any piece of land that we're talking about. And if we want it to be so that we're not having like very small populations because we don't know how to do all of these things, I think knowing how to grow food and knowing how to provide for yourself in this kind of way is pretty like mending pots with gold. You're absolutely right around it. And repairing something and making it more beautiful. Yeah. The historically, up until not that long ago, most of the world's population was farmers. I know I've mentioned this before. And having the ability to know how to grow your own food, not every crop, different crops require a lot of different expertise, like olives and grapes and almonds and stuff. They all have these like different requirements, especially if we're growing things that are very modified and we're growing them outside of their native sort of territory of where they were sort of created or evolved. And we've got these very modified things that some plants we've made very, very precarious and they need a lot of care because we made them weird, just like we did with a lot of dogs. There are lots of dogs that like can't give birth without a cesarean section. Like you have to, otherwise they will die during the process of trying to have the baby. Doggo, and we've also done that to like plants and stuff. It's kind of weird. Anyway, what was I trying to say? I still want to plug the Build Soil account and nonprofit because they're really we've talked about how like we've used up most of the world's topsoil and it takes 100 years for 1 inch of topsoil to be created. And like without good soil, we're also going to die because we won't have enough ability to grow food. And this is basically all coming to say like we can create more local competency. We can create more ability for us as individuals to be self-reliant and resilient. And like self-reliant doesn't have to mean like a hyper individualistic self-reliance. It can be like shared community self-reliance, where as a community, we can rely on each other. We can support each other. We can sort of provide for each other and be connected in these ways. I know I'm like talking about a million different things today and just have a lot of thoughts on my brain. And so yeah, it's nice to talk with all of you. All right, it is 1:10 a.m. I've almost run out of time, gotta go to sleep. I can hear that my partner has come home, so I should get going. It was wonderful to hang out with you all for longer today. I've been really enjoying taking the streams a little bit longer than we had originally. I would like to start streaming on another day in the near future. I know I've said that before. Just been so busy with work. It's hard to find a day where I can like fit in a couple of hours of time to just like hang out and stream and talk about things. Another day, if I did it, would be very chill. It would probably be less educational and more just like me playing random games. I think probably that'll be more possible when I get a new computer, because I'm going to build a desktop that can like play newer games because my laptop's quite old. But anyway, again, thank you all for joining me today. It has been really, really lovely to hang out with all of you. I really enjoy this time. I really enjoy getting to hear all of your thoughts and interact with you, and it's very lovely. If you are not already following us and you like what we're doing, feel free to give us a follow. If you are following us on Twitch, feel free to check us out on other social media. I'll put the links here in the chat. And then we also have a Patreon. We've got a couple more articles, I think that's how you spell Patreon, coming out soon. I've been working on a few things about a lot of different very fun topics. And so we should have a few articles getting posted there soon that are sort of Patreon exclusive, as well as other content. And if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. Otherwise, if you want to donate to us, we are a 501c3, so your donations are tax deductible and all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you all this weekend for the next stream. This coming weekend, I will be talking with an author that I found on the internet who has a couple of really cool books. The newest one called No More Neckties, which is about basically coming out much later in life and celebration of just sort of like older people in spaces of queer sexuality, and not just thinking of queerness as something for young people and some like new trend that Fox News can decry. And it's a thing that's existed forever. So anyway, it was lovely to spend time with you today, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.